lethal narcotic. The name of the operation refers to the co-conspirators used the term bread to mean money they obtained through the sale of narcotics, white to represent the cocaine which was sold, and blues to represent the blue-colored pills that were being trafficked. 3 defendants have been charged with Class A1 felony for the operating a major trafficker, including Lieutenant of the City of Middletown Fire Department. Our main actors in these operations are Paul Smith, 55, of Port Jervis, New York, is alleged to have been a member of both conspiracies and is also a lieutenant with the City of Middletown Fire Department. Robert Dunham, Jr., 46, Middletown, also alleged to have been a member of both conspiracies and was selling both cocaine and fentanyl pills. And Gary Mitchell, 48, of Middletown, was supplying the fentanyls for sale. Marquise Gamble, 34, of Nyack, was supplying the cocaine for sale. 25 other people face charges in this case, including a 49-year-old John Beltempo of New Windsor, who was previously worked for the Village of Spring Valley Police Department, the Orange County Sheriff's, and the Town of Walk Hill Police Department. The remaining defendants face charges in connection with the conspiracy to possession or sale of these drugs. Through the course of this investigation, we seized 1,300 fentanyl pills, more than 2.5 pounds of cocaine, approximately $200,000 in U.S. currency, 25 handguns, 1 assault rifle, multiple rifles, cars, and vehicles. The Orange County District Attorney's Office has frozen an additional $150,000 associated with this case. These operations, these defendants had no regard for the damage that these drugs would do to our community. From addition to petty offenses to crimes to even death, putting an end to these operations no doubt will save lives. The investigation does continue this afternoon. The State Police and the Orange County District Attorney's Office are requesting the public's assistance in locating the following individuals: Charles Kavanaugh, age 31, Newburgh, New York; Gary Caldwell, age 33, Wappingers; Justin Atona, 27, of Slate Hill; and Andrew Bendick, 23, of Middletown. The State Police will continue to do all we can to bring these individuals to justice for their roles in these operations. In addition to the FBI and the District Attorney, we would like to also thank the Orange County Sheriff's Department and the Drug Enforcement Agency for their assistance. I will now turn it over to DEA Associate Special Agent in Charge, Keith Cressell.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Today's arrest is significant for 2 reasons. 1, we demolished the drug supply chain responsible for feeding addiction throughout Orange and Rockland counties. And 2, this massive law enforcement action sends a message to drug traffickers that this is just the beginning of our joint efforts to weed you out. With the trial of El Chapo coming to an end, the world witnessed how Sinaloa cartel sent billions of dollars worth of drugs into the American cities for local distribution. This case is an example of how local distribution operations work. They actively recruit drug users to push their poison throughout our communities. This organization put drugs into the hands of users and peddled to households in Orange and Rockland counties. DEA's priority is to dismantle drug trafficking rings at all levels. And by working with the New York State Police and the Orange County District Attorney's Office, this operation was a tremendous success. I would just like to recognize the men and women of DEA's Westchester Resident Office, comprising of agents and officers from the DEA Westchester County Police Department, the Town of Orange Town Police Department, Rockland County Sheriff's Office, Woodbury Police Department, Yonkers Police Department, New Windsor Police Department, and the Putnam County Sheriff's Office. Their work and our law enforcement partners here today, our efforts are steadfast and commendable. Thank you.
Could you spell your last name?
Kruskal, K-R-U-S-K-A-L-L.
I will now turn it over to Orange County District Attorney Hugler to discuss more in depth the charges of these individuals.
Good afternoon. My name is David Hugler. I'm District Attorney here in Orange County, and I'd first like to start by thanking the State Police for their investigative efforts in this case, as well as the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the DEA, and the Sheriff's Office for helping with logistics and processing. What you will see here today in this particular case is you're going to see two distinct conspiracies that have overlapping members. I will start with the first in Operation Red, White, and Blues, the Paul Smith cocaine trafficking conspiracy. Obviously, Paul Smith was at the epicenter of this conspiracy. He's a paid firefighter in the city of Middletown. Obviously, a question is going to come up is what was the involvement of the firehouse? Essentially, the firehouse was used by him at times to make sales and to hold meetings. But from him, he is facing operating as a major trafficker. What that means is over the period of, depending on the theory, of either 6 to 12 months, over $75,000 worth of narcotics were trafficking. He was responsible for trafficking that amount. And that is essentially what he's charged with. His supplier, Marquise Gamble, is also charged with operating as a major trafficker. He was the supplier to Paul Smith of cocaine. He was from Nyack. A drug runner was previously arrested in this case, Kenneth Nunez. He had about 800 grams of cocaine that was on its way to Orange County. At the end of December, he was arrested, stopped. He is currently in Orange County Jail. He was charged with criminal possession of a controlled substance in the first degree. He faces between 8 years and 20 years in prison. Paul Smith faces a minimum of 15 to life, as does Marquise Gamble. What you are going to see is, as you move down the chart, you have two described motorcycle gangs that were involved. Paul Smith supplied them with various amounts of cocaine, and then they individually resold that cocaine. And in the state of New York, something interesting about resell, the definition of sale is give, sell, or exchange. So it doesn't mean that you actually have to sell for money. It means that you can trade it, you can do other things with it, you can barter with it. It's still considered a sale. And then obviously one of those individuals was Joseph Gamble. Multiple counts of conspiracy, as well as other counts. And then you have individuals that flowed down from there that were also involved in the case, all charged with conspiracy in the second degree, which is punishable by 8 1/3 years to 25 to 25. I will note that another individual here, Robert Dunham, was also a member of the Mechanicstown Fire Department here in Orange County. He was part of the cocaine conspiracy also. This here outlines what the Paul Smith cocaine trafficking conspiracy was. This conspiracy, again, it's separate and distinct from the next one I'm going to describe, but again, there are overlapping members in both. Now I will describe the second conspiracy, which I consider extremely dangerous. The second conspiracy in this case is what we call the Gary Michelle fentanyl trafficking conspiracy. Obviously, we're all aware fentanyl is a synthetic opioid, is extremely dangerous. A few isolated nuggets, pebbles, or whatever you want, grains, can cause death. In this particular case, again, Paul Smith and Robert Dunham are both involved, and Paul Smith and Robert Dunham used Gary Michelle as a pill supplier in this particular case. Gary Michelle is also charged with operating as a major trafficker in this case. He faces a minimum of 15 to life. Again, he supplied Robert Dunham and Paul Smith, who supplied other people. Dunham had his own operation within this conspiracy of his own individuals that resold, as well as Mr. Michelle had a pipeline of people that came from him that were street-level dealers. You'll note on the table over there, there's what we call blueberries. What is so significantly dangerous about this particular conspiracy is that many of the people that were purchasing these drugs off these individuals, they believed that they were buying OxyContin pills, when in fact they were buying a counterfeit OxyContin that was really had fentanyl in it. And these individuals here, Mr. Michelle, Robert Dunham, and Paul Smith, were responsible for putting that product into our communities, which again, if not taken in the right dosage, can cause death. This is the first fentanyl trafficking case that we have seen here in Orange County on this particular scale, and obviously you can see what is laid out in front of you. And again, when you take both of these, when you take both of these and you put them together, you have the essence of what today's case is. And again, the connection between the two different conspiracies is the overlapping of Robert Dunham and Paul Smith. So one could say that Paul Smith is the epicenter of both cases. I can't say enough that in these particular cases, an extreme level of sophistication involving multiple stash houses, involving counter surveillance, involving the way that they conducted themselves. We have not seen that level in a while here in Orange County. I cannot commend the state police enough. This investigation itself was run at on a very clandestine level because of the people involved and the potential of leaks, and it was perfectly conducted by them up to this point. So the last thing I will say regarding this, a press release will go out detailing the charges specific to every person very shortly. But every person up here is individually, they're innocent until proven guilty, and under our constitutional system, they have the presumption of innocence with them today and every day thereafter, unless or until they're convicted in a courtroom. At this time, I'll turn it over to Captain Shortall for any questions.
Okay, I'll take some questions, but I'll tell you right up front, this is an ongoing investigation because, you know, we're stopping here, but they got the drugs from somewhere, and we have partners in law enforcement that are pursuing that source. So we're going to limit how much information we're going to provide on that.
So could I ask the district attorney to explain at the microphone the importance about the blueberries, the OxyContin versus the fentanyl?
Sure. I believe the blueberries are toward the end of that table over there to my left. The blueberry themselves were being sold. Again, some of the individuals that were purchasing them thought that they were purchasing a straight OxyContin pill, when in fact they are purchasing a pill that has fentanyl in it. A straight OxyContin pill would not have fentanyl in it. So again, they're purchasing something, they're not getting what they think they're purchasing, and again, fentanyl is the number one cause of fentanyl is the number one cause of death here in Orange County from overdoses. In this particular past year, our overdoses here, accidental overdoses from heroin and fentanyl, were in excess of 100.
Is it possible that the Middletown Fire first responders went out on calls for drug overdoses caused by drugs sold by this ring?
Anything is possible. Anything is possible.
Could you clarify the role of the Middletown Fire Department and also the role of the local officials who were involved in these rings?
How I would categorize that is that other than the individuals named up here, Mr. Smith, as well as Mr. Dunham, and as well as Mr. Gardino, the Middletown Fire Department, we have no knowledge of any other individuals within that department being part of this. However, the building obviously was used at time for various things that we can say, and also we can say that various meetings were held there by Mr. Smith and others involved in this conspiracy.
Drug transactions?
I'm not going to go into exactly what happened inside the building, but all I will say at this point that the connection to the Middletown Fire Department is Paul Smith and the fact that significant events happened there.
Were any fire department vehicles seized?
No.
And this was the central fire,
Yes.
Yeah.
with the new criminal justice reforms, as far as bail goes, does that apply to any of these folks?
Thankfully, no. If they did, the vast majority of these people would be walking out on the street.
Can you talk a little bit about perhaps some of the outrage, regarding the fact that these are first responders who are supposed to be, some of these defendants are first responders who are supposed to be helping people, and who are in fact allegedly involved in such a large-scale drug operation?
I think it's reprehensible, but I think Captain Shortall can answer that, being in the field himself.
Well, obviously, the people that are asking them to respond are asking first responders to come out and provide them with, you know, life-saving measures. And in this case, drugs are being peddled that are the exact opposite. These drugs kill people, and the unsuspecting purchasers could just do one pill and die. It's that dangerous. if the formula that's used to make that pill is just the slightest bit off, they're not going to recover from it.
Do you know anybody who died from taking these?
We haven't tracked any overdoses or overdose deaths to these drugs. Not to say it didn't happen, it's just we haven't tracked it to that.
What were the names of the motorcycle gangs involved?
It was the Burnt Pistons and the Chainlings,
And where were they based out of?
Middletown.
And Captain, with your experience, all the search warrants you've executed, have you ever seen a search warrant executed at a firehouse?
Not since I've been on the job, no.
Did these operations perhaps go undetected for a longer period of time because officials were involved?
I have no indication of that. I mean, we started to learn that there was a source being supplied. We discussed it with the district attorney several months ago, and then we started working on trying to locate that source. And then as we did, we worked backwards to find out where it was coming from. But there's no indication that this was a result of anybody trying to cover it up or the agencies not wanting to know. I think they were just as surprised as we were when we showed up this morning.
In the case of the Mechanicstown fire chief, however, it was alleged, we heard in court that he might have been transporting some of the drugs in his department-issued vehicle. Would that, perhaps make it more difficult for authorities, to locate him during those transactions? You wouldn't suspect that drugs would be in a fire department vehicle?
No, you wouldn't. It would be something you would not expect to see. As the case went forward, we were conducting surveillance, both physical and court-ordered electronic surveillance. So once once the case was up and running, we knew who we were looking at. Didn't matter what vehicle they would be driving. We knew who we were looking for.
I have a question. My understanding is that Mr. Smith was at one point a state police investigator. If he was, can you tell me how long he was one?
I don't believe that's true.
Okay.
I have no information to that.
Okay.
No.
How does this investigation get started?
It's like most. I mean, it's an ongoing process that we're constantly combating drugs, and when we start seeing increase in volumes on the street, we sit down and we confer with the district attorney's office, and we come up with a game plan on how to go after it, and then we start looking for people that are doing it. I mean, as you can see, with drugs, besides death, comes violence. I mean, look at all these guns. These were guns that were maintained and possessed by these people. So it's always, the two are connected together.
Captain, can we ask you, along the lines that was asked of the DA, your personal reaction that, as a member of law enforcement, that one of the people you're investigating here is a first responder?
It's disturbing. I mean, I'm sure it's going to be disturbing to everybody that reads your papers tonight. I mean, this is a person that's supposed to be going out there to help, and in fact, he's peddling stuff that's actually probably killing people.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Steve Neville is here, so he's going to talk to you about some of the releases for the photos and stuff that we were trying to get out, but we didn't have them right away, but they're available to you.